All right, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, shalom, good morning, good afternoon, salam, konnichiwa, any language from the north to the south, to the east to the west. Welcome all to this Valo Online Summit keynote delivered by Jeff Teper himself. My name is Gokhan Odifsi, and I'm really excited to be with Sebastian to be your host for a few seconds as an introduction before the keynote. I'm pretty sure you all know what Valo Intranet is, and many of yours will say, hey, it's an intranet in a box SharePoint solution. However, we'd love to be more than that, and our aim or goal is to be the world's leading and most lovable digital workplace product suite on Microsoft platform, on Microsoft 365. And honestly, we can't do that without you. And that's the reason why I want to take a few seconds to say thank you. Thank you for the 1,200 delegates that registered today for Jeff's keynote. Thank you for the community for supporting us. Thank you for our customers. Thank you for the partners. We are Valo. And if we are Valo, as you know today, it's thanks to all of you. And that's the reason why I really want to say that it's a pleasure to be with Seb in front of you to opening the keynote. Valo has 70 Valo experts in-house working and delivering all the experiences that you probably use today or the ones that you will be using soon, hopefully. And we have 11 MVPs working hand in hand all together to bring all the latest innovations and experiences into your pocket as a mobile application or into your home as the experience of Valo. And I'm proud to announce as well with those 11 MVPs and a bunch of 70 Valo experts that we have our own event, the Valo Fest, which is completely and totally free for 24 hours event, which will be held in June 25th up to 26th. You will have tremendous keynotes from Microsoft people like Mark Cashman and Lori Pottmeyer, all about Microsoft Teams. You will have the Valo Microsoft MVPs, which will deliver the latest experiences and real-world scenarios with you. You will have regional MVPs and regional industry experts. If we look to the agenda today, which is on valofest.com, you can see that we have industry experts from Europe, from Asia, and from Canada. So what you have to do is to go on valofest.com and register yourself to secure your seat. That being said, that was my minute of fame. Seb, I leave the show for you to continue before Jeff's keynote and to showcase what Valo can and will do.
Thank you so much, Gokhan. So thanks everybody from joining today, joining from all over the world. I'm from Montreal, Canada. My name is Sebastian Levert. And I'm really, really proud today to kind of just introduce what is Valo in a very nutshell. Valo is a multi-award winner of multiple prizes from Best Intranet to Best Mobile Solution, also part of the Clearbox Choice Awards a couple of times already. But I want to tell you also what is Valo. What are the different pieces that consists Valo? So Valo is a set of 6 different offerings that we have today. The first offering is, and Gokhan, can you move the slide, please? The first offering is our Valo Intranet. Intranet is our product offering on top of modern SharePoint, where it's the full publishing and capabilities that we have with the intranet. We also have our collaboration enabler with Valo Teamwork, where it is possible to govern and create all your Microsoft Teams directly from our own UI. We also have our Valo Ideas built on Microsoft Teams as a way to innovate and co-create ideas around your organization. We have our Valo Extranet product, where we have the ability to invite external guests to collaborate in our own environment in a very secured fashion. What about our mobile story? We also have our digital workplace app, which is where you would be on the go to consume all of these different offerings we have. And finally, our latest but not the least, our Valo for Microsoft Teams offering, which is where you will be able to find and build the digital workplace of your future. Before we go on to Jeff, I'd like to thank everybody also on behalf of all the Valo teams for being here today. And I'm actually more than happy to have Jeff Teper as part of this keynote. So Jeff, what does it mean for you to be kind of part of the Valo Summit?
It is exciting to be here at the Valo event. Valo, as many of you know, is a very innovative company. They've been a great partner on the cutting edge of modernizing SharePoint and taking it into all sorts of new scenarios, integrating with Teams. I'm Jeff Teper from Microsoft. Many of you know me. I've led SharePoint and Office 365 for quite a while. A few months ago, I picked up responsibility for Microsoft Teams, and I'm very excited to share with you our roadmap for Microsoft 365 collaboration. I wanted to start by thanking everybody for all the support they've given us over the years, and in particular, rallying to organize these events. This is the time of year we'd normally have a SharePoint conference in person. I miss that deeply. I know a number of you do too. But I've been thrilled by how our partners and MVPs and regional directors around the world have, with sponsors and speakers, organized these events so we can stay connected and share the best practices and our latest roadmap and how it might help you in your organization. So thank you again for all of you participating in this event, and special thanks to the organizers and speakers who are giving of their valuable time to reach all of you with this great content. I'll start our framing where Satya does, which is our vision of building Microsoft 365 as the world's productivity cloud. We've come a long way in the evolution of our server products into our hosted cloud service with a whole set of new experiences that are getting better every month. We love the technology, but it's about empowering your employees and your organization and all of you to build applications and secure that information so that you can transform your organization, however small or large it is, whatever industry you're in, and you can respond to changes. And of course, there is no more dramatic change than what we're seeing right now with the global pandemic that is COVID-19. This is something that none of us have experienced in our lifetimes and is creating all sorts of personal and professional stress for individuals and organizations. And so it's our privilege to take the assets we have at Microsoft to work with all of you to learn about how we can help. We're working to improve how people do remote work in education with Microsoft 365. We're learning from teachers and students and parents and doctors and nurses and in manufacturing and banking and many more institutions all over the world, including learning from how our own employees are working from home. We're sharing that learning on our Microsoft 365 blog. And there's a set of posts focused on 3 areas. First is how you can improve your productivity as you're working from home, how you can create barriers, how you can do a good job at time management, how our tools might help. Second is how you can secure information. That security, privacy is more important than ever. And third is how you can build the kinds of transformative applications that can help you continue with your business processes, work with customers and partners externally. And we welcome feedback and best practices from all of you to share as well. Our tone as we introduce technologies that can help remote work and education is very much starting with customer driven. We've oriented towards real world organizations, the things they're struggling with and the solutions they're finding. So a good example of that is the recent TV ad campaign we've been running with first responders in education, like the University of Bologna in Italy, that was one of the first hit by this crisis. In safety, things like the UK police, in global companies like L'Oreal, all sharing their stories. And you'll see us do more and more, as it really is our privilege in Microsoft to help organizations like this. And it's more about how they're responding to this challenge than it is the features that we're doing. I thought to personalize this more, we'd bring up a longtime friend of mine, Sue Hanley. Sue is an expert in information architecture, business processes, great intranet experiences. Sue's been an incredible advocate as an MVP for a while, and I'd really love to hear from Sue in terms of what she is learning from the many organizations she's out there talking to about how they're responding to COVID-19. Sue, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks really a lot for including me. So I'm seeing a couple of things. One is accelerated projects. So I have a friend that's the medical IT director at a hospital, and they'd planned to roll out a telemedicine solution in 2020, but they really just hadn't planned to take a several-month project and compress it into several weeks. There's been some pretty amazing efforts by IT staff to enable organizations to deliver services in new ways. I think Satya Nadella said that Microsoft has seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in 2 months. And I think a lot of organizations are experiencing that in spades. Another thing I've seen a lot is that everyone is really working together to make it easier for our colleagues to get information about new ways of working and responding to COVID-19, from crisis management sites to advice about working from home. I've had an opportunity to work with a bunch of organizations to stand up COVID-19 crisis management sites. And these sites require an incredible amount of collaboration between IT and HR and comms. And it's really great to see not just a technical focus, but a people focus as well, not just on how to work from home, but also how to get reliable information, but on all aspects of employee health and well-being. And it's really great to see.
One thing that is also really gratifying for me in seeing what's going on is how IT people can move from behind the scenes to be heroes in these organizations right now. That's helped them be a lot more appreciated. Maybe you could share some best practices or learning about what IT leaders are doing to help in all this.
So I've seen IT leaders really step up in really great ways. Some have had to scale their infrastructure and add additional layers of security. Others have had to figure out how to provide equipment for people in order to be able to work from home. And then still others have had to provide programs to support their colleagues who need help with information and digital literacy skills. There's a lot of people who are now having to work with technology in ways that they've never had to do so before. And so it's really interesting and exciting for me to see IT teams step up to ensure that their colleagues feel safe and comfortable and productive using new and different ways of working.
Well, thank you, Sue. It's great as always to learn from you. So thank you for joining us today. I thought it would be interesting when things had calmed down a bit to share this story about the work we've been doing scaling Microsoft 365. And it struck me two things. One, this didn't happen overnight. And two, we would not be here without all your support. We built Microsoft 365 together. With your feedback and investment in us allowed us to invest in the software, the data centers, and the services that surround them. So to take you a little bit on the journey, in 2008, Bill Gates in the keynote announced Microsoft Online Services would be available to all organizations at the SharePoint conference, something I'm quite proud of at that moment in the company's history. We learned a lot. It came under the rubric of the Business Productivity Online Services, or BPOS. But by 2011, we were ready for a simpler name that showed our conviction behind it, and we called it Office 365. And that's when we began to continue to invest in the data centers and architecture on Azure. Since then, of course, we've scaled up to dozens of data centers and refactored all our services. And I had a chance in 2016 to announce a major milestone along that journey with the Future of SharePoint event. At that point, we had begun to re-architect the core of SharePoint on Azure. Now 100% of storage is Azure-based, and the user experience based on some open source technologies like TypeScript and React. So it really is a very different SharePoint. And because of that work we did over that last decade, SharePoint was able to grow tenfold in the last 4 years since the 2016 event. And still, even at this stage for SharePoint, double in the last 12 months, in part to respond to people's needs with COVID-19. The following year, we introduced Microsoft Teams, which of course integrated with SharePoint. Teams became the fastest growing business product in our history. That was an interesting moment where we had 85 million monthly active users for Office 365, even as Teams was starting to ramp up. And to show you the continued investment you all made in us, just 3 years later, Office 365 has over 250 million monthly active users, and Teams alone has over 75 million daily active users. And probably more impressively, in getting to the elasticity of our service and our architectures, in the last quarter, with the adoption of remote work in education, the daily minutes on Microsoft Teams calls and meetings grew 20-fold to over 4 billion minutes a day. And so again, that wasn't code we wrote in a day or a week or a month. We've been doing that work over the last decade plus, thanks to your feedback and investment in us. So I hope everybody very much feels proud that our ability to respond to this challenge is based on your bet in us, and we don't take that for granted, and we'll continue going. I thought I'd give a little more inside the scenes of what's supported that work to scale this service. And so for that, let me bring up one of the group program managers for the Microsoft 365 infrastructure to talk about scalability, Navjot Burke. Navjot?
Thank you, Jeff. So over the last few years, we have built a scalable and elastic architecture for Microsoft 365 services built on top of Azure's global infrastructure. This enables us to quickly scale up our services for customer demand and also provide you a great experience wherever your users may be. In the last few months, in response to COVID-19, millions of organizations and hundreds of millions of users have started using Microsoft 365. As Jeff mentioned, in the last 12 months, SharePoint usage has doubled. And in last quarter alone, Teams meetings usage has gone up 20x. Of course, we've also had to do engineering work to support this unprecedented growth. For example, we have done work to add Azure capacity faster. We have done work to add users and organizations at a faster rate, and done work to reduce our operational costs. All of this learning will enable us to take Microsoft 365 from 250 million active users today to billions of users tomorrow and offer you a service with a higher rate of reliability and performance.
That's great, Navjot. In addition to scalability, obviously a lot of people are asking about performance, devices, networking, how people should access the cloud from their home, what guidance we give people on network optimization as people are collaborating on files and meetings and so forth. And so maybe you could share next some of the work we're doing around performance, including the guidance for customers with performance in Microsoft 365.
So you're right, Jeff. For the best performance, we are recommending that users use split tunneling instead of using a VPN for all connectivity. We're introducing network connectivity insights in Microsoft 365 Admin Center. On this page, you will find a global map that shows you all the locations where your users are working from, color-coded based on the network performance. The users in Melbourne, Australia are not having a great experience. I can double-click on that to drill down and learn more about the issues in this particular location and get recommendations for how I can improve the network performance. Here, the system has detected that these users are connecting to an Azure front door that is located all the way in North America instead of one closer. We want your users to connect to Microsoft Network as fast as possible so they can take advantage of our global network infrastructure and also reduce the load on your VPN, which usually don't have the capacity to support 100% of employees all the time.
Well, thanks, Navjot. In addition to the work on the fundamentals for scalability, performance, reliability, we've also been doing a lot of work for many years on trust. In fact, Satya always leads his keynotes talking about how important trust and protection of your data is. And in the last few years and few months, more and more of the most security conscious organizations in the world, banks, healthcare organizations, governments, have moved their data to the Microsoft cloud because of the comprehensive approach we've taken to security and privacy and identity and a spectrum of compliance requirements. And I'd like to bring back Navjot again to talk about some of the security and compliance investments we're making. Navjot.
Thank you, Jeff. So we know that as more of users are working from home, they're using Teams to collaborate and share information. Many of you are familiar with how you can use DLP to prevent sharing of sensitive information over emails and files. But now you can also use DLP to prevent sharing of sensitive information in Teams. Here I've created a DLP policy to prevent sharing of financial information over email, files, and team chats and channel messages. Once I create this policy and apply it, as a user, when I try to share a credit card number with Lynn to pay for a marketing campaign, you will notice that my message to her is blocked. DLP has detected that I'm trying to send a credit card number. I get a little tooltip that tells me why this message is blocked and what I can do about it. Using DLP for Microsoft 365, you have full control over how sensitive information is shared in your organization. We know that as more and more users are working from home, it becomes even more important that your data is automatically protected, irrespective of where it's stored or where it travels. You can automatically apply classification labels to your important data so that it is protected. Here, I have created an auto labeling policy to automatically apply the confidential label to any file that contains financial information like bank routing numbers and credit card numbers. This in turn will automatically RMS protect these files. As a user, you can also run your auto labeling policies in a simulation mode so that you can see the impact of these policies, make any tweaks or changes before you apply the policy to the data in your organization. Using auto labeling policies, you can be rest assured that all of your sensitive information is automatically protected without you or the user needing to take any further action. In my case, you will notice that this particular file has been automatically labeled confidential. The file has been labeled confidential because it contains financial information. It has some credit card numbers in it. So the system has automatically detected that, labeled the file confidential, and therefore it now has RMS protection on the file. So as a user, if I download the file or email it to somebody or share it with someone, your data will always be protected.
Thanks. It's great to see the innovation there. One of the things that I frequently hear come up is the safety and inclusion of conversations in Microsoft Teams, and those conversations are moderated. What's some of the work that we've got coming out in our collaboration tools?
Let me show you the new communication compliance feature in Microsoft 365. Microsoft Communication Compliance helps you foster a culture of inclusion and safety in your organization by helping you detect and prevent negative behaviors like harassment and bullying. Here, I have created a policy to detect potential code of conduct violations in my organization. I have applied this policy to all the users in my organization across various ways of communication. This uses an ML-based system that can automatically detect patterns of harassment, threats, and even profanity across messages. In my organization, this policy has flagged a few Teams messages for potential threats and harassment. And right from here, quickly and easily, I can follow up and take appropriate action to stop this behavior and protect the culture of my organization.
Thanks, Navjot. People have asked me, as we're adding so much every day to Microsoft 365, how we think about it, because it can be somewhat overwhelming with all the new capabilities coming. We've come a long way from these siloed applications to thinking about this as a graph, the relationships between people in organizations and teams and content and conversations. And the more we can learn from those relationships, the activities people do with the tools, the more we can infer knowledge to help them and others in the organizations, the more we can gain insights to recommend things, the more we can build these intelligent experiences that save people time and help them work together and make better decisions. Of course, all this is respecting security and confidentiality that's been applied with the kinds of controls that Navjot just talked about. And so as we think about that graph powering these new experiences, people have asked me about the various applications that plug in and make up a collaboration suite like we're trying to build in Microsoft 365. So as I came into the new responsibility with Teams, I thought about how we could make that relationship between Teams and SharePoint even stronger. And so the way I think about it is the graph gives us a way to build intelligent experiences that span communications, aka Teams, content, aka SharePoint, and platform capabilities for a range of developers. First up is intelligent communications. Microsoft Teams brings together a lot of capabilities, calling, chat, meetings, collaboration. Now we've integrated Yammer into Teams, so that gives us community support and much more. But because people live in the communication tools, we also thought it would be a great place to evolve Teams as a hub for teamwork, where other applications from Microsoft like SharePoint and Planner and so forth plug in, as well as third parties. So that's why we think about Teams in this dual role. It brings together all these communication tools in a seamless way, but it's also a hub for other Microsoft and third-party applications, including the applications you build. And so we've got a lot going on with Microsoft Teams. We're adding so much every month. In fact, by the time you see this event, there are probably some new things we've not announced at the moment we're filming this just yet, so stay tuned. But to show you some of the latest work we're doing, I am really excited to introduce Graham Sheldon, the Director of Program Management for Microsoft Teams. Graham, welcome.
Hey, Jeff. You're absolutely right. We hear from customers all the time that they love Teams because it helps people stay connected and they just get more done when they have everything in a single place. Really excited here to show you what we're going to be doing with, in particular, meetings. In Teams, you can adjust and control exactly how you're going to show up, including all the audio and video settings before you join it. So, make sure you look great and then hop right in. When we go to a lot of different meetings, you need to show up a little differently, depending on whether you're leading the meeting, you're participating, or just observing it. And it's kind of hard to control exactly what the environment's going to be like. One of my favorite features is the ability to change your background. You can blur your background to sort of remove the distractions. You can basically change your background to other custom things too. You can make it look a little more professional, like an office, or you can express your personality by uploading an image, say from your vacation. Now that you're ready to join, you can see all 9 participants simultaneously with our new 3x3 video grid. And we're working constantly to try to increase and expand the number of those simultaneous video feeds even more. We also want to help people feel a little more included when they're in these meetings. It's tough doing these all remotely. So one of the best ways to do this is to turn on live captions.
We have built this feature for those that are deaf or hard of hearing, have different levels of language proficiency, or dialing in from a noisy environment. This makes sure that it's easy for everyone to follow along in the meeting.
I turn this on all the time so I can catch up when it's noisy at home, the dogs are barking or the kids are going crazy, and I don't miss anything in the conversation. We're also going to give participants a way to signal that they have something important to say. So you can see Bianca has her hand raised and Aaron wants to raise his hand too. Now it's easier to make sure everybody's input is heard. So I'm sure we've all been in meetings where there's a lot of background noise too. We're adding all sorts of AI capabilities that help people when they're typing loudly on their keyboard or working in an open space. Check it out.
Hey Bianca, can you help show me how Microsoft Teams uses background noise suppression to reduce background noise?
Hi Aaron. Yeah, of course. So you can hear me clearly now, right? But say that we were in a lunch meeting and I needed to open this bag of popcorn. It's pretty noisy, right?
Yeah, it's super distracting. I can hear it loud and clear.
Right. So if I turn on noise suppression, it actually muffles that sound. Can't hear anything, right?
No, I can't hear it at all. That was amazing.
It's pretty cool.
So these are just some of the awesome new features we're working on to make sure that people stay connected and stay productive when they're working apart. Jeff, back to you.
Thanks, Graham. Remote work is more than meetings. And in fact, a lot of people want to stay connected across their organization into the leadership in larger communities than their immediate work groups. Can you share what we're doing around communities integration with Teams?
You're absolutely right, Jeff. Teams is the hub for teamwork, and it brings together everything you need to sort of stay connected and be productive. And now this includes communicating with and collaborating with communities across the company with the new Yammer app. The new Yammer app helps you participate in conversations that go beyond just your core working group and your teammates, and it's now accessible directly in Teams. Let me show you. So this new Yammer app is totally new experience. And now I can join the conversation and share information to keep everybody informed and engaged. And since the new Yammer app's built using the new Fluent UI, you can see these conversations sort of wherever you want to. So this community and these leadership connection, I can do that in Yammer on the mobile app. I can do that in SharePoint as part of a web part. And I can do that sort of interactively as conversations in Outlook. We've also added an events tab here where I can see the list of the past, current, and upcoming events like town halls and get my questions answered. And these are all powered by super awesome Microsoft 365 live events. And what they enable you to do is to deliver an immersive video broadcast to really large audiences with interactive conversations, and includes powerful AI features like you can see here, like auto transcriptions that help attendees watch and participate. When so many employees are sort of working remotely, leaders are still looking for these ways to engage with their teams in a sort of more human way. And it's really a perfect solution for town halls and company meetings, especially in this new world. And these things can be customized to a really great degree so that presenters can share their webcams, like we're actually doing this particular broadcast right now. And we reach thousands of people from inside and outside the organization with this live broadcast that can be hosted in Teams, in Stream, or in Yammer, just like you see here. Jeff?
Thanks, Graham. Next up, we're going to transition from communications to content. Many of you know with SharePoint, we've tried to have the most flexible content management solution in the industry that spans files, lists, sites, and now what we call knowledge with something called Project Cortex. Probably it wouldn't be a SharePoint event without me answering the question I've been asked for many years, which is SharePoint an app or a platform? And I'll answer it the way I've always answered it, which it is both. SharePoint's a platform that delivers intelligent content services. And we do have a killer app for it in these great SharePoint websites, and you can see them on lookbook.microsoft.com. But SharePoint's also the platform by which we serve up files experiences, list experiences, knowledge experiences across Microsoft 365, including Teams, and in your own custom apps. And so I'm really excited to talk about the next steps of these content-centric experiences with Omar Shaheen, who's the Director of Program Management for the team. And Omar, welcome. Why don't you start it off showing us maybe OneDrive to kick it off?
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be here. The first thing I'm going to show is a feature that Jeff and I actually talked about 4 years ago. And it's wonderful that we're able to deliver something our customers really, really want, which is this feature we call Add to OneDrive. It's the capability for customers to add shared content alongside their own. That means instead of looking for content based on who shared it and how someone shared it with them, they can access the files they care about directly in their OneDrive. So let's take a look at how that works. I'm going to go over to my shared with me list, and you're going to see a folder there called RFP alongside other folders. These have all been shared to me. I'm going to go ahead and select this folder that Adele happened to share and select the command called Add Shortcut to My Files. When I go ahead and click that folder is now going to be inserted into my OneDrive. Previously, everything in my OneDrive was just content that I created, but now I can see content other people created, making it really easy for me to get back to it. When I navigate into that folder, you can see all the same content I would have seen had I navigated to that folder elsewhere, but the convenience of having it in my OneDrive makes it easier and faster. This also means that when I synchronize files into File Explorer or access files in OneDrive in Teams or my mobile device, I will see those same folders. So here I am in File Explorer. I'm going to go ahead and click on that RFP folder, and there you can see all the same things I just showed you on the website. We think customers will love the ability to get easy access to all of the shared content that they want to. Back to you, Jeff.
Yes, we've been talking about that one for a while, and I think it is the last big missing piece in making access to all your files across all your devices super, super simple. But we're also making some really big announcements around lists. Could you show us the new list experience we just announced?
Absolutely. Lists is our newest M365 application and capability built on SharePoint lists. And so our SharePoint customers are very familiar with it. But we're introducing a new destination for lists to make it easy to get back to all of your lists, as well as a brand new mobile application. I thought I would quickly flip through some of the great new experiences you can build with lists. So first, we're going to take a look at an issue tracker, which is a great way for me to organize information from across the team and see if people are blocked. Next is a list where you can see it in a calendar view, which is a great way to organize things like events or conferences and see items in the calendar. After that, you're going to see this new list type, which is a gallery showing a list of all the assets in our team that we need to track. And this makes it really easy for people to get a sense of who got what device. And finally, you can see lists built into Microsoft Teams because we want to make it possible to do things like project tracking directly in the place that you're collaborating with your team. There is so much more to see and learn about lists, and I encourage everybody to go check out the videos on YouTube and the blog post. But I'm also going to show off another great new feature of lists, which is the ability to create gallery views. And so here we're taking a look at the list we're using to organize an event, and it's laid out in traditional column view. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the gallery. And now you can see a list of cards, which makes it easier to organize some of the information. But even better than being able to see these cards is being able to customize these cards. Once I select Format Current View, I'm going to be given the Tile Designer, which provides a simple WYSIWYG way of organizing information. And so one of the things I'll do is turn on the image column, which brings in the images associated with this list. It's a great way to identify the cards. I can go ahead and toggle the preview, and I can also reorder it so it shows up at the very top, which is where I really want it to be, above all of the items. I can go ahead and enable and disable other items, show things like speaker user tiles so that I can see the people that are speaking in the events, and enable other columns. I can also hide the labels for the cards, increasing the information density and making it easier to consume this data. Back to you, Jeff.
What about SharePoint sites? What are some of the most recent things we're doing to make it easier to create more engaging SharePoint sites to inform employees and help them discover knowledge in their organizations?
We recently launched a brand new product to help organizations get a beautifully branded website, and that is called Home Sites. Here we are looking at the Contoso Electronics home site that's called The Landing. You'll notice that the URL for the site is a special URL. We call it the root site, and it lets the organization name.sharepoint.com point to a site of their choice. You'll also notice that there are branding elements on this page, such as a color and logo. I can go ahead and click that logo and get back to this site. We also have branding on the phone so that the SharePoint mobile app also reflects the branding of Contoso Electronics. Let's take a look at some of the features on this page. The first thing you'll notice is that at the top, I can see the logo, which I mentioned. I can click on it. So anywhere in SharePoint, I can get back to this page. You can also see the mega menu, which makes it possible to organize information that the organization wants me to have access to. As I scroll down this page, you'll notice a number of different web parts, such as the local weather, as well as times in different locations, company news, as well as information such as leadership events so that I can connect with leaders in my organization through live events. We'll see organizational news from across my company. We can also see news from other sites in my department. As we scroll down, you'll see events, you'll see information from Twitter, and then of course, we're really proud to introduce the brand new Yammer web part. This brings the full capabilities of Yammer communities directly into the SharePoint experience. So I can go ahead and ask questions, comment, like, and interact with communities on Yammer. You'll also notice the feed, which shows information about what I'm working on, as well as the new footer, which also provides a branding opportunity and a way for the organization to put links I might want access to at the bottom of the page. We're going to go back up and take a look at the benefits site for my organization. This is where we get to talk about another awesome feature called multilingual. A lot of our multinational corporations need to localize pages for the languages their employees speak. So I can go ahead here and click on the word English and change the language to Spanish. And when I do that, the page dynamically changes to show all of the content, but in a different language, making it possible for those employees to get access to the same information.
Thanks, Omar. We want to go a step beyond because we know a lot of sites exist to help people navigate the organization's knowledge and expertise. And so we thought now is the time to grab the AI technology across Microsoft, apply it in a secure way to the graph, and expose all this. It's almost like SharePoint's generating your intranet for you and connecting it to all these experiences. We announced this last year at Ignite with something called Project Cortex, and maybe Omar, you could share us some of what's about to come out with that major project for us.
Yeah, what you said is totally spot on, Jeff. We're seeing more and more organizations generating unstructured data and placing that in Microsoft 365. And so we're really trying to take the best of what we have in AI and ML to create knowledge out of that information and help give employees a way to contribute to that knowledge. And so I'm going to show a couple of examples of what that will look like in a few short weeks when we release Project Cortex for our first customers. In Microsoft Teams, I'm chatting with my colleague, Emily Braun. And you'll notice that there's a couple of keywords that are highlighted in this chat, Project Core and Mark 8. I'm going to go ahead and hover on one of these words. And what you're going to see is the new topic card. And the new topic card appears and shows me information about this topic. I can see things like a description. I can see an acronym, so it knows that there are other ways to describe this topic. I can also see people and resources that are associated with this topic directly inside the place that I'm working, which is Microsoft Teams. But I can click on that topic and get taken to a topic page, which is a page in SharePoint. And this page shows a lot more information about the topic. I can see the description and where it came from, in this case, a document. I can see the people associated with the topic, as well as all the resources. And as I scroll down and investigate more about this topic, I will also see information such as discovered resources, which are all the stream videos, the PowerPoint presentations, and the files that we've discovered and believe are associated with this topic, allowing you to curate that information. We also have the topic graph, which shows all of the related topics that exist in the organization that are either curated and manually created or suggested so that I can go ahead and add content to those topics. This gives me a way of seeing the relationships of topics, but also navigating from one topic to another. Here I've selected the next topic, which is Mark 8. And just like before, you see a very similar topic page, and you can see that this information was gleaned from a document. Then I can click over to the Knowledge Center and see all the topics that I've contributed to, as well as all the discovered topics that I have access to in my information so that it's secure. Now I'm going to end by going back to another product I use, which is Outlook. And here in Outlook, you can also see the word core is highlighted. And just like in Teams, when I hover over that word, I also get the topic card. But more than that, I can also hover on a person and see the people card. And we've also added a new feature to the people card, which is the topics that this individual has contributed to. And so a big part of the value of Project Cortex is making the experience work in the places that you work today, bringing that knowledge and learning to everybody in Microsoft 365. Back to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Omar. All of this is a platform for custom solutions. And there's also great partners out there who are pursuing business opportunities on Microsoft 365 to add lots and lots of value on top. We very much see Microsoft 365 not just as a collaborative solution, but as an intelligent platform for a range of collaborative applications. And I've always tried to think about our customization and development for 3 tiers of audience. First, how can we really make it simple for an end user to customize their Teams environment, their SharePoint environment? Second, for people who want to build more tailored business processes, we've been working for the last few years across Microsoft with the Power Platform team. You probably just saw some big announcements from us in the integration of Power Platform with Microsoft 365 Build. And lastly, we want to give full extensibility to developers at both the data layer and the user experience layer. The data layer, we have the Microsoft Graph. The user experience layer, we have the SharePoint framework. And we're doing more and more again to bridge that SharePoint framework so you can build these extended pages and solutions in the browser, but also inside Microsoft Teams. And to show you a few of the things we're doing for developers, I think we'll start with the no-code, low-code scenarios. Let me bring up Ed Averett, the GPM for extensibility. Ed, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. What we've all seen over the past few months is not only do you need to build a great solution, it needs to live in teams because that's where we're working and collaborating today. Sue mentioned earlier that we've actually seen a huge surge in companies needing to both communicate and support their employees in a crisis. Low-code has a really big part to play here. In March, Microsoft released the Crisis Communication app, which brings together Power Apps, Power Automate, SharePoint lists, all sitting inside Teams. And I'm really excited to show you how that's actually helping companies out there today. What you're seeing here is the crisis communication app as a Teams personal app. Every employee in the company can stay informed and ask for help. All these pieces below, news, tips, FAQ, links, and contacts, are powered by the exact same SharePoint list that Omar mentioned earlier. This means that any IW can easily update these, as well as it can be reused all across Microsoft 365. But the crisis communication app is also about real-time support. Here you can see in the FAQ list, I can request a headset or monitor to work from home. And this is going to leverage Power Automate and Teams messaging to do that. So let me go ahead and request a headset. And this sends it off to the crisis response team. Luckily, I'm a member of the crisis response team. So let's see what that looks like on the other side. So now I'm switching out of the app, which everyone in the company has access to the channel where a small set of us have access to respond to requests. There you go. You actually see the message that I just posted from the app. Given I asked for it, I'll let someone else on the team respond to it and approve my headset request. But this is just a great example of how Microsoft is bringing all these pieces of technology together to support you during this time of crisis. Over 3,000 companies have deployed the crisis communication app into Teams in the last month alone. Now, when we look beyond low code at enterprise dev, we have to talk about SharePoint. And I really want to show you how the SharePoint framework and Teams work great together. This is the sales lead SPFX solution. Not only does it access SharePoint data, it's talking to Azure ML to do predictive leads. It can also call external APIs and anywhere in the Microsoft Graph. And this has full admin governance in there. Now, the power of this solution is it exists as a web part right here. It can exist as a full page app in SharePoint, but it also can be directly hosted as a tab or personal app in Teams. And coming this summer, SPFX solutions are coming to AppSource, so any company in the world can both try or buy SPFX-based solutions. Now, when we look at the last piece of the puzzle with ProDev, we really have to talk about Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph is all about the data and signals that are both produced in the graph and as you use throughout M365. And the goal over the last year has been to make it both easier to use the Graph API and more feature-rich. Let me show you a little bit of what's going on in Graph development today. Here's the new UI for Graph Explorer. It's gotten quite a refresh. Now, my favorite feature in here is permissions. Now, instead of going back and forth between REST APIs and documentation, I can see automatically what permissions are needed for any API call I make, and I can add directly to my app. But there's actually more than just tooling going on here. Let me show you some of the new features that are coming to Microsoft Graph. One of the big ones is following. Now, what following does, and you can see in the SharePoint site, is that I followed two sites that are very important to me. In Microsoft 365, I can follow lists, I can follow docs, I can follow sites. And this is a concept we think is really powerful for apps. Now, if I switch back to Graph Explorer, I can do a simple HTTP GET, and there you go. You can actually see those same two sites in Graph Explorer. And I can add to them just as easily. Let's do a simple HTTP POST. And there's the results right there. And just to show you it going live, here's actually the SharePoint site with that site added to following. This is just a few of the features that just showed up in the Microsoft Graph today. Over the summer, you'll see more with sharing links and more coming from Project Cortex with things like term store and content type. There's never been a better time to start developing with the Microsoft Graph. Back to you, Jeff.
I'm really excited to see the kinds of solutions people build with what Ed just shared. Well, that's the material that we wanted to share in terms of building an intelligent, collaborative solution in Microsoft 365 between communication services, content services, and a flexible platform. Our first priority is to keep this service secure, scaling, healthy, and we're investing more and more to do that every day. And thank you for your support of that. But we're also innovating. You'll see this summer quite a bit coming based on your feedback. But we're also dreaming about leapfrog new experiences. You see that in what we're doing with Cortex and the AI integration, things like the Fluid Framework, and much more. So we showed just a subset of the things that we've introduced since the last Microsoft Ignite conference, and much more is coming. Again, thank you for the support, and thank you for the feedback and the things we need to do to support all of you better. And with that, we're going to turn it over to the rest of the event. Would love to engage with you in the online communities, and I do very much look forward to a time in the not too distant future where we'll be able to see all of you again in person, whether it's a SharePoint Saturday or a Teams Thursday or whatever to call the event. We'd love to be there in spirit and also in person. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much, Omar, all the team. It has been a tremendous pleasure to be listening to the keynote. Again, on behalf of Valo Intranet that I'm representing today with Sebastian, a huge thanks to all the delegates, a huge thanks to all the partners, customers, and the community. We are Valo, we are community. A last point, please do register for the Valo Fest event. It's a free event, all for you within a few weeks. Thanks again, and hope to see you in another event.